Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Why I'm Still Here, Porque Sigo Aquí series. This is your host, Isabel Garcia. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the founder of Estoy Aquí. Today, we are going to be talking about spoken word as a form of care with Erin. Um, but before we introduce Aaron, or before Aaron introduces himself a bit more, I want to remind you why this series exists. This series is about spreading awareness about community care and how it relates to mental health. So we know that there's something called self-care. However, my primary goal is to expand the idea of care to the community. So who are the people around us that need support? Then us also who need support, but how do we connect both? How we take care of ourselves and also at the same time take care of others. And so I thought that one of those forms is a spoken word. And who better than to speak about spoken word than Aaron St. Louis?
She guessed me.
Who, like, what? I know, right? Like, so I am super excited, super excited to dig deep into this topic. And so, welcome, Aaron. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
I'm good. I want to give you a chance to tell us just a little bit more about who you are and your work in the
hmm
community.
Most definitely. One thing that people who work with me know, I'm bad at bios, so this portion probably gonna be really short.
Sure.
but my name is Aaron St. Louis, also known as Ajo Saint. I am a spoken word artist, poet, rapper, communicator, friendly neighborhood wordsmith. My work in the community, I call myself a creator of safety.
Mm,
I believe the verbal arts allows for honest communication, creates safe spaces, and breaks the ice. Some
mm,
stuff is rather difficult, especially when it goes against the narrative of the status quo. We're in a very virtual world, and sometimes thoughts and ideas that strive in this metaverse don't actually translate to what is actually real life. And I like to sometimes wake up people to let them know that some of the things that they think is not true. That you are actually loved not for your money, but for who you are as a person. That you don't have to try to keep up with everybody else in order to be of value and things of that nature, so on and so forth.
hmm, hmm. That's beautiful. That was beautiful. That's
Thanks.
a beautiful bio. But and you already got into what I kind of wanted to explore with you in terms of
hmm
spoken word. But before we get into that piece, what is
hmm
spoken word? Like, I know that sounds like a such a simplistic
hmm
question, but
hmm
again, I'm not someone who writes or whatever, but so I'm like, is there a specific definition for spoken word?
I would say yes and no. It's tough. Probably simply put, and I should have asked Webster before I came up here, but like spoken word is pretty much verbal arts where you're speaking, trying to communicate thoughts and feelings in a way. I think honestly, monologuing can be considered spoken word as long as you're saying it verbally for people around you to hear. The reason I say it's tough is because I don't consider myself the quintessential spoken word artist. I teeter more so to like the rap lyricist side, and other people sound more maybe like Gil Scott Heron or legends in the field, and I'm not like them. So I don't consider myself the quintessential poet, but it's the what makes me spoken word, or what makes a lot of people spoken word with their different styles, is how they paint pictures with knowledge and feelings. It can exist in different styles, different forms, different purposes and influences. For example, like in literal painting, what Pablo Picasso does and what Hayao Miyazaki, who was the founder of Studio Ghibli. If anybody's an anime nerd, Studio Ghibli is the ones who made Spirited Away and Howl's Moving Castle. What they do is very, very different. They have different feels, they have different feelings, they have different intentions, but they're both visual art. They're both genius. And I feel like if you're able to communicate your thoughts and feelings as well as invoke some thoughts and feelings in others, you are a extremely good spoken word artist.
Hmm. You know, I love this. I just love the way that you put it all together. I
Thank you.
love
I try.
this. But in having said that, I'm wondering, when did your passion for it start and why? Like, what led you to put time into this? Because I see you doing the events, going to different
Yeah.
places and spreading your art, your spoken word. And so I'm wondering, when did it start for you?
Gotcha. Yeah. I would say it started when words excited me, and it was actually this rap song, Lupe Fiasco's "Daydreamin'." Um, and the ways the words flowed, it had multiple meanings, and it painted this both like surreal as well as like very realistic picture at the same time. It was mind bending and it was exciting, and I wanted to do the same thing. And yeah, it just encapsulated like so many different things, and it wowed me that somebody was able to say like 5 lines, but 5 different people could listen to it and get their own things out of it. That part really excited me, so I kind of wanted to started doing that. And as I grew and aged, I was like 14, 13, 14 around that time. But as I grew and aged, I realized that it aided in me kind of figuring out my own feelings and my own thoughts about things, as well as it helped other people do the same, even if they were scared or nervous to do it.
Hmm. So, as you were talking, I've started thinking about the importance of role models and the importance of having people doing different forms of art.
Mm-hmm.
Because look at that. Look how that inspire you to be like, wait, can I try this? Like,
Mm-hmm.
how? And I love the fact. I also I love that part too, that you said about how someone can hear or read the exact same 5 lines and still get a different perspective depending on
Mm-hmm.
where you come from, on your story, etc.
Exactly. It's all personal. So one line can invoke memories, and obviously everybody doesn't have the same memories, but one line can invoke memories and make you feel and think things, and have you rethink things you've been thinking about for years. It happens to me often. That's why one thing I want to emphasize about myself is that I'm a communicator. If I sit down and talk to you, I'm not going to recite any poetry, but I'll get the same mission done. You'll I'll have you thinking a little
Yeah.
differently. Yeah, and it's not like I'm a devil's advocate or trying to push anything. Oftentimes, it's just me kind of expressing myself and people feeling comfortable to express themselves back, which is
Mm.
I feel like it's an art form to express yourself. I thank be to God I'm good at it. But I feel like I also have the ability to help people get better with that as well. That's why I want to emphasize safe spaces and breaking the ice.
Mm. And I want to give a shout out to Dali Vera, who said art is a verb. That
It
art,
is
yeah, art is a
moving,
verb, art int with words. I love
moving and
that.
breathing.
Love that. And you mentioned also like the phrase breaking the ice and all of this stuff. And I'm wondering, okay, but what is your process? Like, what goes into creating and completing a spoken word piece to get you to that world? Like, what happens?
Good question. It's not as easy as I very rarely write from top to bottom when it comes to poetry pieces. It's a twofold thing. It's whenever I get unctions, kind of like, ooh, I need to do this, I need to talk about this for various reasons, or it's via inspiration, and I'm constantly inspired. It's it's inspiration from different things. It could be visual, it could be hearing somebody else, it could just be a conversation, it could be one specific word. The only thing with inspiration does, I don't make full pieces out of inspiration. I just take little itty bitty parts and create lines that I can perhaps use for later, or little thoughts and concepts that I can use for later. It's usually the unction that makes me sit down and focus on writing something and kind of completing the quote unquote story of the piece, uh, even if um, even if I haven't lived it yet. I have to start it. A lot of times I have to kind of live it out first in order to finish it, though, just because even though I don't always have like a nice bow to tie it up with, the present up with, I do want there to be kind of an ending where I'm honest at the end of the day, and I want to give them a little more than I don't know, even though sometimes I don't know.
But I love that you were so that you're so transparent about your process, because I imagined, okay, this is, you're gonna
Mhm,
laugh, but I imagined, right, somebody be like, okay, now I have to write spoken word, and then just like, right, just write it, just write it,
mhm,
right, like that's what, for some reason my mind goes into that kind of image. Like, if I'm gonna write something, then I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna let the ideas flow or whatever. But it seems like within your process is, which I find very beautiful, it's like,
mhm,
it's not necessarily about I have to get this thing done. It's like
mhm,
there is that inspiration that you mentioned, that momentum, that flexibility, that magic,
mhm, mhm,
um, also depends on where you're at in your life, and
mhm.
there's like a
Yeah.
lot. There are like different factors coming together. It's not just about I have to get this done
Mhm.
type of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, 1000%.
Yeah, and I love that. I know that um when I go to the shows and events to see, to hear the spoken word, I notice that there are different aspects to it. Like, they might repeat a phrase throughout the entire thing, or there's
Mhm,
a certain rhythm, or there's
mhm.
wordplay, or whatever. Is that something that you use within your spoken word? Like, are there specific things that you always do with your spoken word in terms of the structure to
Mhm.
make it, I don't know, fun or interactive?
Oh yeah, most definitely. I feel like the creative aspect of it, the picture painting, the being bendy with words, it's a necessity for me. I know a lot of people don't do that. A lot of I would say traditional spoken word artists, they don't feel the need to be as vivid, um I guess, for lack of a better term, complex picture painters. Sometimes their message goes through with timing, pace, and tone. I like to use timing, pace, and tone, as well as like all of this hodgepodge of other stuff that I find in my pockets to kind of communicate what I love in a way that I love it. Just because the way things rhyme, the way metaphors work, the way entendres work, you have a easier time remembering that stuff than you do something that's plainly said.
Mm-hmm. And when you say, what was it, picture making? What was that term?
Probably picture painting.
What, what does that mean? Like, what does that, like, you do certain facial expression? Like, how, what?
So like you know how they say a picture paints 1,000 words.
Yes.
Just flip it in reverse. 1,000 words paints a picture.
Yep.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah. So pretty much you're able to build this story and this idea based on what you're saying. I feel like a lot of people have like this own like sequenced idea when it comes to their poetry. A lot of stuff that I write, especially when I was younger and a little less structured, I feel like I was painting murals, not regular pictures. So like murals have like different pieces and different images on in different
Mhm.
sections, it's not until you step back you see how everything is related and everything completes each other. So that was my style.
Right. Yeah, like how it all comes together, like once you
Hmm.
start to, yeah.
Hmm.
Um, okay. So based on that, based on all these different techniques or the process, your passion, now I'm wondering, so how do you build community with spoken word?
So outside of the actual enjoyment of it,
Mm-hmm.
my main focus is to, as I said, create safe spaces and break the ice, as well as talk through things people are afraid to talk about. And it's not necessarily the controversial topics, even though I know spoken word artists like to hit the controversial topics, like to bend the status quo for my stuff, just because I like it. I like for it to, as they say, minister to me or heal me. It's personal stuff. So it's everyday stuff. It's how men relate to women. It's about how reconciliation is important. It's about how you're not an island, and how men shouldn't focus on their identity being their money and their performance and things of that nature. Stuff that I see, and stuff that I'm pretty much bothered by, that I feel the need to kind of like talk it through with other people. And my way of talking it through is reciting poetry. And then, even though like I'm on stage doing my thing, I feel like the work is afterwards, where I'm able to sit down and talk to people about what I think and what they think. And a lot of times people say they feel related to, they feel like they're heard, even though they didn't say anything. They feel like this is something that's been bothering them for a while, and they couldn't put their finger on it. And the fact that I was able to speak up, I was able to break the ice, they feel more comfortable thinking and dealing with this information. Just because in this world where which ironically we're always typing, we're always saying something, a lot of times we have thoughts in our mind like, man, maybe I'm the only one who thinks this, and I'm not comfortable saying this out loud.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I kind of try to fill that gap.
That right there, filling in that gap,
Mhm.
and that is so true. That right, well, there's the typing, the all this stuff, and supposedly we put everything out there in social media, supposedly. But
Yeah.
I do agree that many times, and I will speak for myself. I think that I'm the only one feeling um, a certain type of way,
Mhm.
and but we know, but it's not true. It's not. There are
Right.
millions and millions and millions and millions of people. um, I know, and I know it's not true, but I get into that cycle of no, you are the only one or whatever.
Mhm.
But I can totally see how, let's say I go to an open mic and I hear all these your different thoughts about all these different topics, and suddenly something that I have been thinking about sticks. It's like, whoa, so I'm not the only one, and it
Yep.
kind of feels, for me, it will feel like a sense of relief of.
Mhm.
And you mentioned that like breaking the ice. I
Mhm.
really like I don't know, I like the, just the words themselves, breaking the ice. It's
Mhm.
like opening something up or looking at other possibilities even.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. I can see how beautiful that is, that
Mhm.
people then come to you are like, hey, I love what you said, I'm big. They probably told you, I don't know, they probably told you their whole lives, I don't know, but it feels validating. I think
Mhm.
validation is what I'm trying, is the word that I'm trying to come up with.
Mhm.
Now, having said that, we spoke about that validation, breaking the ice, those shared experiences, and so there are benefits, I believe, to mental health. Then,
One
when
thousand
looking
percent.
at that community piece right there, the benefit of mental health comes
Mhm.
out.
Mhm.
But I would love for you to share a bit more about how does the just the spoken word process, how does that look like in terms of benefits to mental health and
Yeah,
also a community perspective, of course?
yeah, most definitely. One thing prior to that, I think somebody has a question on Facebook. I will respond to it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it was Dali Vera. Oh, thank you. Do you think any piece can be spoken word depending on who and how someone delivers it? And I would say yeah. Yeah, spoken word. I say a lot of times the spoken arts, they have two different talents to them. Talent A is the actual writing, talent B is the performance of it. A spoken word can go from okay to great based on how it's delivered. And if any piece, do you think any piece can spoken word? Yeah, depending on who and how someone delivers it. Yeah, style is in writing as well as styles in how you deliver it as well. So yeah, simple answer to that is yes. Long answer to that is yes. I hope that answered your question, and feel free to ask more. Yes. What was your question one more time? Sorry.
Yes. So the question was, so what are the benefits of spoken word, the process for you and for the community that you have seen in terms of mental health?
Oh, it's pretty much as you said. It's the process of it, the process of writing, the process of thinking through the information, the process of thinking through your feelings. Because when it comes to art, you have to sit down and you have to do it. You have to give it time. And the same way our mentals work, we would I feel like we'd be in a lot better space mentally if we just sat down and give ourselves time to think and feel about it, as well as to talk it through with other people or even to just speak it out loud. Because a lot of times things fester in your head. Thoughts grow into concepts and ideas that aren't even positive. And if we say them out loud and we actually hear ourselves and we're like, that's crazy. I shouldn't think that. Maybe I should talk to somebody about it. And I feel like that's what the poetry does. Poetry lets me get these thoughts out of my mind, as well as when people hear it, they're able to think about it for themselves, talk about them amongst themselves, or talk to me about it. Especially I was gonna say the more controversial the better, but some that's not always true. Sometimes this is the simple stuff, the stuff that we see every day that we walk by, that nobody
Mm.
wants to address is usually the best, more hard hitting stuff that I feel. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's kind of the mental health aspect of it. That the necessity and the unction to process it for yourself, as well as when one person processes, they can help somebody else do the same. And spoken word kind of helps me do it to multiple people at the same exact time instead of having to talk to one person individually in order to get the message, the thought, and the feelings across.
Hmm. That is a great point. Reaching out to so many people, yeah, at the same time. And then you mentioned how they all might interpret, right? They might interpret one line that you might say. A bunch of different people are taking that line
Mm-hmm.
and is they interpret it depending on their worldview, on
Exactly.
how, right? And it's that's I can see how fascinating. I use that word in every episode, but I can see how fascinating that
Fascinating is a great
is.
word.
I can, yeah, because I can see, first of all, I can see how the process can be that outlet for
Mm-hmm.
those whatever emotions,
Mm-hmm.
good, bad, whatever, in between.
Right.
I can see how it can also help people make sense of their world.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned the thoughts, like the reframing of their thoughts, because it's not the same once. I think maybe when I write something and then I read it, it might not sound the same as it's in my head. It might be like,
Right.
whoa,
Mm-hmm.
wait a second. So it gives like a very different perspective, another window to our soul, I think. I'm getting
Oh
too
yeah.
deep. Oh my God.
Nah, go ahead.
I'm saying.
See, this is what happens when I sit down and talk to somebody. See, it's working.
This is what happens.
It's a live example.
We get deep, but yeah, it seems like there is a process of self discovery there. and even empowerment.
Most definitely.
Yeah, I can totally see that from the
Hmm.
self and from the community
Hmm.
perspective at the same
Hmm.
time.
Hmm.
Literally. But now, it's this all sounds great and awesome, but we know that with all forms of care, with anything really, there are barriers. Like
Hmm.
nothing's perfect, and I'm wondering if what would you say are the barriers for people who would like to use spoken word as a form of care? Like, is there anything that you think, oh well, you know, this thing right here, maybe it's fear of public speaking, maybe I don't know, speech impediment. I don't know. Is there anything that you're like, okay, that might be a challenge, but
Oh,
if there is, how can we at least reduce them or
mhm.
get to them?
Yeah, most definitely. The two that you use as examples are definitely some real life ones. Whenever I'm out and reciting, I always randomly talk to somebody, ask them, "Hey, do you write?" And 9 times out of 10, they do write. They're unwilling to share it just because they're nervous or they're crowd shy or things of that nature. Those are real life things. The way I say to counteract that is one, go to as many events as you can as possible and watch other people do it. And a lot of times that will give you the kind of like the fire in your belly will spool up and you'll feel the desire to do it too. And you can do it in a crowd that's a safe place, usually open mic or something of that nature. Just get your feet wet to try it out. Another barrier, and this barrier probably exists in all forms, all forms of different arts and medias and things of that nature, is some people like to gatekeep. Some people feel like your style's a little too different. Some people feel like you haven't paid your dues. And I haven't felt this aggressively at all, really, but I know that's a real life scenario for a lot of people when it comes to poetry or it comes to any of the art forms that
Hmm.
they haven't paid their dues enough to the gatekeepers, or they're a little too different, or they feel like they need to change their style or change who they are a lot of times to fit a status quo or be able to win competitions or things of that nature. But at the end of the day, when you do what you love, you become good at it, and you stay humble and keep your ego out of it. You will create that space. Your gift will create that space for you where people who like your niche style or like your niche message will gravitate towards you, and community can be built based off of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, I appreciate your transparency about this process. I see it, yes, on Facebook. Thank you. I appreciate your transparency about the process and the challenges, because it's
Mhm.
real. It's
1000%.
real. This there are the gatekeepers, all these different things that happen that get in the way. And I'm also thinking that it might be that I write something and that I might be like, hey, to my friend and be like, hey, do you want to hear this? Like, I don't have to have an audience, right,
Hmm.
to do it,
Hmm.
necessarily. So I think that looking at, I don't know, I guess different ways that it can work for us, for
Hmm.
our needs,
Hmm.
as well, because it can be like, hey, mom, and my cousins, can you get all in the living room and hear me out? Like
Hmm.
something, or friends, right? Two or three friends, right? To get started, maybe then it becomes a thing, a different public spaces. If the goal is to really make that
Hmm.
big type of community care where many people receive the message at the same time, and
Yeah.
you get to see that fascinating process, right? But so I guess like that, it seems like there can be different levels
Hmm.
for, and it depends on what you're comfortable with.
Hmm.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah. So we are almost done. Literally, there's like what, a minute left.
Mhm.
But I still want to give you the chance before we go to please share with us how we can support your work.
Mhm.
Are there any events coming up? Is there any social media that you want us to follow?
Yeah, and in terms of events, I want to say I slowed down a little bit, but there's events all over the place. I would say that the best way to get in tune with the events is to follow me on social media. Thank you for having us scroll the bottom. My Facebook, Aaron St. Louis, my name itself. Instagram, A Joe Saint. You can check out all my links. Right now, I'm spooling up to kind of like really lean into what I do. I have a full time job. It's a great paying job, but it doesn't feed the soul in ways I want it to. So I
Mm,
want to. I really want to kind of get this side going more. So there will be website. There will be a website. Will be a YouTube page and all of that. But for now, I recommend you follow my socials and see what I do. There will be flyers. There will be random videos of me doing poetry, me rapping, me there's gonna be a lot of pictures because I take a lot of pictures. But yeah, all of that. Thank you guys all so much for listening. I love and appreciate all you. Send me messages. I love to converse. I love to talk, and I love to make connections.
I love that. And this is actually the last episode. We This is the eighth episode and last episode of this series. Of course, we never know. We might come back. Why
I think you should.
not? If like if the audience enjoys all these different topics, we can get another series going. Who knows?
Hmm.
Next
Hmm.
year. And wink, wink. And so, if there are any other topics that y'all would like to talk about in terms of how they can help our mental health, feel free to send me a message. Feel free to, you can also email me, estoyaquicommunity@gmail.com. But feel free to let me know. Are there any other topics that you would like us to explore in terms of mental health and community care? And also, as I do in every episode, just a reminder that I am selling merchandise. And you're going to see Aaron wearing one of my favorite shirts, which is the community care shirt.
I actually have it on right now.
Oh, you do? Yeah.
Yeah, it's another sweater. You can't see it, but yeah, it's
Yes. Then we have the community care definition. It is in multiple colors. So if you go to the bonfire store, Estoy Aquí, basically you're gonna see a bunch of different products, shirts, hoodies, mugs, etc. And all of that money actually goes into my cultural responder program, which is called La Cultura Sana, the Culture Cures. And you can learn more about that program and about my trainings and workshops and my website, estoy-aquí.org. And you can also donate through the website as well. So, having said that, thank you so much, Aaron, for coming to the last episode and for being so honest and transparent about your process with spoken word. I really appreciate it.
yeah, most definitely. Thank you so much for having me. It is an honor.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.